Okay, g'day, and welcome to the Forbidden History Chronicles. You're here with NinjaCat 111 and our regular Dezert-Owl from the Forbidden History series. I'd like to welcome everybody to the program and any new listeners. And g'day, ya love, how's it going? Also, before we get started, I wanted to show you something because they're stepping it up. It's all over YouTube anyway, the weirdness at the moment, and a lot of people are getting confused and falling for it, and at the same time saying that it's all deception, it's all fake, but they're still falling for it. So I just wanted to show you an example. This was in Boulder, Australia, Western Australia, a small mining town. This was seen, I'm not sure exactly when, but very recently. I'd say the last few days, or at least the last week. It was sent to me, was on Facebook. It was sent to me by Duck, Deplorable Duck sent it to me. And it's a perfect example of what they're doing. So yeah, I will just play the little clip. It's a good one. If you hear anything in the background, it's just the cat knocking on the window. I'll have to go let him in a minute. But we will do this first. It's only a short clip, so I'll let it play again. Also, towards the end of last year, there was something very similar to this scene in Victoria, somewhere outside of Melbourne, which is only a couple of hours south of me. Yeah, so I'll just play it through again. What I see is a light show, a pretty light show. That's all it is. The last week or so, my sky has been acting very strange, not just with the clouds and the weather manipulation, but with the Skynet, the blue beam, the frequencies. It looks fake. It looks like a TV screen now. A couple of days ago, I actually saw it. You can see it with the naked eye. It's like the blue sky has a glass or plastic film in front of it, and it's all little squares. And that brings me to this footage, the square light at the top of it, that just made me think of that. It's just light shining on the plastic screen, the TV screen. Anyway, I'm just going to go to, I've got 3 little short clips here that I would like to show you, and then we'll get on with the program. Okay, we've got this one. I'm just checking the sound. Sorry, I don't want to be trying to talk over. Okay, this was on Richie from Boston's YouTube channel. That is an art show. Yeah, it's not. Nobody's claiming it to be UFOs. It's an art show. But it was when it happened, immediately it was all over YouTube. People assuming it was UFOs. They're showing us. They have to show us what they're about to do, and so that's a perfect example. And this is a video that I put up last year. I noticed this. I'm setting up to film the moon, and I just want to give an example of how easy it is to create an illusion, a deception. This isn't even, I'm not even looking at the sky. Yeah, I was just saying, I was like, oh, okay, what's that? Where's that coming from? And I'll just let you look at it for a little bit longer. Then I'll show you what it actually is. Okay, hope you can see it. Might have to turn on my torch. 1 second. Yep, that's what it is. My little fancy, it's a table. It's a table. That's what I set my little tripod on. So, there you go. All is not what it seems. Okay, so that was it. That was my little presentation. Yeah, I just want to help people see through the lies. When I put this video up last year, I was still reasonably new to YouTube, even though I'd been watching the sky my entire life. YouTube didn't know that. And a lot of people thought that I was crazy when I would say what I could see. And then I put this video up, and it didn't get many views, but the people that saw it were completely amazed at how simple it is to deceive, especially with the technology that we have. The internet and editing, and like with the videos, who knows what's real. Same with looking at the sky with the naked eye. They're putting the holograms up there. They've started doing it. They're implanting visions and thoughts using frequencies in your head. The deception is being stepped up. It's getting very weird, and they're trying to separate us from going inwards. They're trying to distract us, and yeah, I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen to a lot of people. So if you're tuned in here, you're in the right place. We'll get on with the program now. I just want to say hi to Leo. G'day, how's it going? I'll put the flowers up again and we'll get on with the introduction. And we are live. I'm just going through my little list, sorry. There we go. Okay, the signs of the times. In essence, Desert discusses the history of the world and how the unseen hand has been running it from the very beginning of time. Who they are and how they have founded all of the first great civilizations that are found all around the world. About who the giants really were and the ancient Aryan caste and slave systems, the priesthoods, the anti-gravity V-manners, the earth-based misnomered UFOs which are man-made, the control of all forms of communications, commerce, religion, mass media, pseudo-politics, etc. It is the grand deception that is used to control all of mankind, and all instituted through the three main religions of the world in particular, used as their grand cover. Their cyber code has been revealed to him because he has become adept within the study of the ancient alphabets, communications, symbolism, religion, custom, law, cosmology and mythology, not to mention the fallacy of today's political science and pseudoscience in particular. He can also define the true nature of their warfare, their shell game of bringing one civilization up for their temporary use and then taking it down for the next 500-year generational cycle, as symbolized by the classical phoenix. Desert discusses the ultimate in mind control, an ancient art and the financial control, the secret societies and their blood occult rituals, and how they wage all wars throughout all time through the nations that they have created, which are all imaginations, plantations, and mere corporations. They have taken blood oaths to surrender their self-will and mind to their blind goddess, who has demanded our blood from the very beginning of time. They communicate to their minions through the movies, TV, and print media, while he can see, read, and interpret most all of it. It all says that they are using us for our ingenuity, for our collective constructive labour, for experimentation, and in the end, they intend to kill us all. They have given us full notice of what they are doing and what they fully intend to do, while all of the general population, the sheeple, they merely go there to be entertained. The New World Order is the Old World Order from the beginning of time. There is a major cosmic natural disaster that is about to happen on Earth, and they know it, but they are cleverly leaving us in the dark, hence the reason that they have built hundreds of underground bases all around the world, while they are leaving all of the people to remain unprepared, uninformed, and above ground, so that when it comes, the mere 5% who will survive above ground will die from the weaknesses and disease that has been generated from all of the poisons that they have been feeding us, from the chemtrails to fluoride in the water, to tainted vaccines, to fake food, etc., etc. They have enslaved us all by the clever means of deception, because we, most all, are their cattle, chattel, property, and because they merely wanted to harness our labour, what they always needed, which is what backs most of the world's currency through the birth certificate, but they are all through with us now. It is written in stone, as it can be seen written in the Georgia Guidestones. To know the truth is to be empowered and to be prepared. We may not be able to stop what has been done and what is about to happen, but the innocent and decent people on planet Earth deserve to know. And that was written by Dezert-Owl from the Forbidden History series YouTube channel, also from Forbidden History Live, which is a new channel, so that Desert can do his live streams on there. I'd like to welcome Dezert-Owl to the program. How's it going, Desert?
Hi, Ninja. Good to be here. Thank you. And it's going. You know, the one thing for sure, the clock keeps ticking. The clock never stops ticking, and our time on Earth is shorter by a day every day, and we certainly have to figure things out. On those graphics you were showing, that first one, was that something you captured yourself, or did I walked away from the computer computer real quick. So is that from Duck, or where did that one come from?
Oh, hang on. I'll just put it up again. This. Hang on. It's coming.
And
That
hi
one.
there, Leah. He's saying hi to me. So hello, Leah. Good to meet you.
And thank you for the sound check. Yeah, love. This one. Are you seeing it yet?
Yeah, I see it. So,
Yeah, that
so
was
that's the one.
that was sent to me from Duck. Duck found it on Facebook, and it was seen in Western Australia in Boulder, which is a little mining town. But something very similar wasn't filmed, but it was seen. Yeah, just outside of Melbourne last year. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a looks like a classic. It just went up into the light. Now the light closes the door.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sort of like it went into a wormhole or something. That would be their conclusion.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's
of course,
fake.
There's
Yeah.
nothing other than perfected Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's a hologram.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's all it is. They're the masters of illusion. They're the masters. They perfected. They even when they make movies, they use the military in the movies, and the movies are always following the protocols or the line, toting the line of the military police state. So they're it's all one body. From the media to the Hollywood to the politicians to the banking to the Vatican. They are all in cahoots with each other.
Yeah.
And the grand deception is to be perpetrated on us. So we have to be wise and know that once we see these things, we don't have to get caught up in it because if we look at other pieces of the puzzle, like the guy who was the expert head of NASA, Werner von Braun, former SS stormtrooper, a mass murderer, created the V2 rockets and shot about 200 of them over England during World War II. He said that it's impossible to go even to the moon because you would need a lead shield 5 feet thick. And he said that basically you'd have to have a rocket the size of the Empire State Building to lift off the ground. So he admitted, the head of NASA admitted that it was impossible to go to the moon and that the Van Allen radiation belt is the main problem. And so, then you're going to talk about people living in outer space for how many thousands of years, light years, thousands of years. I always wonder what they ate. It must be peanut butter and jelly because that's the only thing you can pack real tight, with a large quantity. And, bloods are flying naked at the same time. What are they? The whole thing, they're blue, they're gray, and I'm looking for the polka dot ones, and wearing dresses, of course, like the priesthood. But so we just have to realize that it's the grand deception that the Vimanas have always been with us. The anti-gravity, when they built the pyramids, they're flying them around the world. The reports of them are throughout history. We see them on the paintings, on walls, in different, the Vatican or wherever. They were written about that they blew up the wall for Alexander the Great when he wanted to take down the last remnant of the Phoenicians there in the Levant, or even apparently Columbus mentioned he saw one come out of the water, when he was going to do the phony discovery of America. Maybe they were just making sure Columbus was going to do his job. They were spying on him, the all-seeing eye. Yeah, he saw it come out of the water. And so they had to report back to Gandhi, Wandi, Rashi, Shushi, and Hashish, and let them know that Columbus did pretend to discover America, and so now we can create the new Ameriku, the feathered serpent, the new Atlantis, designed by would-be king Francis Bacon. This is just it's such a preoccupation and a study. It's like I didn't grow up on come into this world and say, hey, I think I'd like to discover this conspiracy of the world. How does that work? And I didn't even know about it at the time when I was young. But you fall into it. What happened to me is I got stuck in a truck doing chemical transport, driving 18-wheelers around the ship channels and outside of Houston, and then to all the chemical plants and listen to talk radio for 24/7 around the clock, and I didn't want to talk to idiots on the squawk box, so I listened to talk radio.
The what box?
Year.
The what box?
The squawk box, you know, the two-way radio where all the idiots hang out.
Okay, we call it the CB radio here. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, right. So I listened because I'm a study. I listen to what people say on radio, and then found out the patterns. You know, the patterns, they say the same things over and over and over. There's no license there's no law for a driver's license, no law for a social security number. Then they talk about other things, and it's like, okay, wait a minute. You know, so then you start researching, find out there's truth to it, and then we've been scammed. And ultimately, it took me a year, but then because I had nothing to do with politics, never voted, knew they were all liars, and then find out these people are coming to kill us, you know, after a year of listening to talk radio. And then I find out I'm my typesetter for my business, my publishing, that I was attempting to do was a retired intelligence officer at Voice and Mission Control for 2 years. He was the first one I contacted when I discovered this stuff because he was 20 years older than me and thought maybe he knew something, and it turns out he did, you know, because I knew he was a writer and wrote about a lot of deep stuff, and including UFO and stuff like that. So there, go figure, he's an intelligence officer. And so he also was friends with the three Apollo astronauts that were burned in I think Apollo 5, Grissom, White, and Chafee. They were burned alive. They were murdered because they wanted to go public about the tin can, phony Apollo program, and so that was to put all the other astronauts on notice. You better do what you're told to do, boy, or you're dead. And so so it's an amazing show. It's the greatest show on earth.
Yeah.
And and so we're witnessing it. You know, we're here.
We are.
It's our time.
Yep.
And so what a time to be in. But it's unraveling the mystery. The truth has fallen through all the cracks. You know, they can't keep the truth perfectly pristine until they would finish their annihilation program of everyone and bring in their new age, which is what they intended to do.
Yeah.
You know, they intended to commit mass genocide, bring the population of the world down to 500 million, have a nice slave plantation, and then they would have in the movie of Avatar, in there where they're cutting down the big tree. The cutting down of the big tree is our tree of life, our history, and that when they cut down the big tree and create the new age, we would not even know the history of the world, just like we were trying to figure out about Atlantis, quote unquote, or other aspects of these pyramid civilizations, or all of these mysteries that they've hidden away from us, all the different conflict of trying to figure it out, who made these monuments and how many of them are deep underwater, 1,000 feet underwater, 2,000 feet underwater, like off of Cuba. Who are these civilizations? How come we know nothing about them? So it'll be, in their blueprint, it's the same thing. They want to cut us off from the past, have no memory of our history. It was also seen in the classic 1950s movie, The Time Machine. And in the future, he's going through the future, and then finally he comes to an age where everybody's just laying on the grass wearing a Greek white outfit, like they look like Greek culture, and they're laying on the grass near a river, and everything's beautiful, and he goes into their little archive and sees the books, and the books, when he touches them, they fall to dust. So he's way in the future, and then all of a sudden an air raid siren goes off, and they all get in line, and they all start walking towards this cave opening, that the door opens, and they start walking through, and he says, "What's going on? Where are you going?" "Oh," and then the door closes, the siren stops, they say, "All clear." Then they all start saying, "All clear, and it's like, okay, so they go down, and then what's interesting in the package, at the time we watched the video cassettes, what we call the VCRs, and the big tape.
Yeah, I had those. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember.
So on the box, it said that the people that lived underground were called the Elohim. You see?
Wow.
And so I found that profound because I was discovering the meaning of Elohim, and of course, in one sense, it means the enlightened ones, which also is a reference on the stars and the sun, and therefore those who are enlightened, the Elohim. And so the Elohim are underground. Well, that was clearly speaking about then the secret society.
Yeah.
And so they get the people to go underground and become sacrifice for their little occult rituals. So it was quite a. So the movie The Time Machine is really telling the story that when he finally got to the future, and in fact, the people were so numb by mind control that when one girl was in the river drowning, nobody got up to save her, and he went and jumped into the river and saved her life. She was crying for help, and nobody came, and so they could care less. You know, that's sort of like the way it is in our society today. You know,
that's the way it is today.
You get beaten up on the street in New York, and you know everybody will walk around you and let you get beaten up. You know, nobody will come to your aid.
I've seen that happen here in Canberra. Yeah, people walk straight past somebody laying on the street. Yeah.
We are in the ultimate sci-fi mind control program. You know, it couldn't be any better, really. It's what they have done.
Yeah.
And it's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. It's nothing new. There is no new world order. It's an old world order. It's a one world order that has created all the pyramid civilizations while they're flying their anti-gravity beam on us all over the world. And so, you know, so we've got to wake up to the reality. This is not our world. It's their world. It's their playground of the fallen watchers. That they are bound here in chains forever. That's what the scripture says. They fell to this bottomless pit. It is a bottomless pit, not flat earth. It is a bottomless round orb, no bottom, all surface, and they are bound here forever in chains. And since they're not going back to the light, they claim to be of the light, but that's a phony illumination. And since they're not going back to the light, they're not going to have us go back to the light. So they put on the cloak of Lucifer, the great light, and claim to be, you know, the illumination, and then they create all of our versions of scriptures and all of our narrative of history and control all of the contemporary news, so we don't hear what's most important and only hear what they want to feed us, and so we're subject to this, and so the only way thing we can deal with here is to be set free, and to be set free, of course, is to know truth, and then to, once you know the truth, stop feeding the beast and stop wasting your time studying, the politics. Like everybody still wants to talk about Washington. Hey, do you think Trump this or Trump that or who cares?
Yeah,
they're going to
exactly.
do what they're going to do. There's nothing you can do about it, and it's not your government. They're your enemy. They hate you. They're here to kill you.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
The wars and rumors of wars are a complete distraction. Yeah.
Yeah. They put dog tags on you. You're a good dog. Go to battle, stupid. Fight our battles for us. The political wars, you think it's about this, and it's really about that. It has nothing to do with what we told you. Yeah. We're the whipping boy of the planet. Get in line or we'll kick your teeth in. That's what the United States is. The United States is the latest version of what England was. A tiny island, a little, teeny weeny little island conquered the world.
You put it that way. Yeah.
Son of all things, so you can't miss them as a target. They're not coming home. But they put a red bullseye on them, and they marched in a straight line, drumming their drum, blowing their flutes, and getting shot one after another because they don't want them to come home. They hate them. That was the idea. It's also population control,
Yeah.
As Montesquieu from the 1700s, in his book, The Spirit of the Law, out of France, he says that all the wars for the last 2,000 years have done nothing other than to serve as depopulation programs for one another's nation.
Yeah, exactly. Cannon. How does Yarlov say it? I say cannon fodder. Cannon fodder. I'm just looking at the chat. Yeah.
Hey, so anyway, so that was a really profound clip you shared, and
thank you.
That shows how they've mastered, the state of the art, and
it's easy to see straight through it, though. That's why I really wanted to show it, because it's just so easy to see through the lie. Yeah, but then again, for example, say only about 10 years ago. Just trying to think where I was at 10 years ago. I knew there was a fake alien invasion coming, but I still thought it was still thought Lucifer was real and there was demons. So I still, I would have looked at that and thought, wow, what a cool looking UFO. Yeah. So I can see, I don't know, it's frustrating, Desert. Like, sometimes I wish I could unsee, but I'm very grateful that I'm not ignorant or blind to what's really going on. At the same time, I'm in two minds, seeing through so many lies to the truth, and wishing others could see it, and wishing that I didn't take that red pill and go down that rabbit hole. Yeah, it's a mixture. So much.
Wait a minute, you didn't take the red pill?
I took the red pill. Yeah.
Oh, you did take the red pill. Okay.
Yeah, I was wishing that I didn't. Like, I go through stages. It's like I wish that I was asleep and didn't know any of this, but I'm also grateful that I do. So, yeah, it's just I've seen so much and come so far just in the last year, just from finally not being silent anymore and reaching out. Yeah, instead of just trying to figure out all the weird on my own and not speaking. And yeah, it's mind blowing. Yeah, sorry,
so
please continue.
Instead of having apples and oranges, you'd rather have apples, oranges, peaches, and pears and plums to compare with, right? The more you can look at, the more you can see, right?
Yeah.
But if they give you two choices, they say, look, it's either apples or oranges, sort of like, it's either Democrat or Republican, right? And so if it fits the motif, they're the ones who are giving you, the potentials to look at, and yet, if there's a political axiom that says, they don't care what the answers are as long as you're asking the wrong questions. So how can you question something if you can't examine something, right?
Yeah. I can see that.
So we have, so we have to, see things we've never seen before, hear things we've never heard before, and then we have more things to compare with. And so as you know, that many of the things that I'm sharing are the fallacies, from the religious to the political.
Yeah.
And and then of course this phenomena of space phenomena.
Yeah. It all goes. Yeah. It all goes back. It all goes back to the Aryans and the word religion. It all goes back to that anyway. Like, yeah, that's what you're. Yeah. Sorry,
Aryans
please.
Are of the air.
Please continue.
All right. All right. Well, then let's. This is a good segue into the first part of what I wanted to share. But I want the word science. I wrote down the word science again today, and science is exact knowing. So it is possible to really know a thing that is going on in your world. It is possible to know, and how wonderful it is when good people come out and expose the things that they've been privy to. But there's always a price to pay, and the good people end up in prison, or they end up murdered because of their sincerity on wanting to help us out. So exact knowing, and I saw Liz J. Her comment there. It's hard to be awake. Yeah, it is rough to be awake in a funeral at the same time, and we don't want to be there. So we want the enlightenment that comes, and somebody else can go to the wake, but that's where they want us all. They want us dead, and to be awake, and therefore, you know what I mean, the double meaning there. If you've not heard us talking about that, Leah, then you'll know what I mean. So the word science, then, in the original thought, because they put the C in front of the S, and it becomes the science. Actually, the science, in the way you would pronounce it, the science. Well, wait a minute, SC. There's the way they've messed up our diction again. But science. So therefore, I was looking at it for the reconstitution of the word based on original thought Indo-Germanic, and then I saw the potential for Asia Kaon. Asia Kaon might be the primitive aspect of that. I haven't done the etymology and followed it back in the dictionaries. I'm just doing it based on my knowledge of the corruptions and the root form, the original root forms. So Asia Kaon, and so literally what that means, if it is correct, is the royal eye of the fiery keys of the one. So so it's the play of the one. There is only one theme here going on in our universe, and it's the theme of our Redeemer, of the one who made all things, of Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, and falsely called the Lord God. Because that's their version, and that's their words, and they do not express the true nature of the Great One, who rules from his throne in the sun, in the metaphor, with the earth as his footstool, and who is the one with the Father and is the Father by nature, and also Mother by nature, because Mother gives us our form, and our form and our body is our mother. Our spirit, our essence, is our who we really are. That is our spirit, and so we're dealing with the duality and the dichotomy, and so the royal eye of the fiery keys of the one. The fiery keys are the things that open up. The fiery keys of the one. So he's the revealer. Yeshua is the revealer. I put out an effort to want to know. I climbed a mountain one day back when I was 21, 22 years old, and the tallest peak in the contiguous United States, Mount Whitney, Central California, and 14,500 feet. And I came down, with my view having changed. I was then able to see into the words and also recognize the true nature of our spiritual nature is to be pure and living free from sin, to go from corruption to incorruption, from imperfection into the perfection of Yeshua. And I don't know if we have a question here. I see that way. Says, doesn't it say you will suffer for my namesake? Namesake means taking on the same name as another, correct. We put on the Moshiach, we put on to use their terminology, the Christ, and so we become Moshiach with the Moshiach. He said, "Greater works we would do." How profound is that? And why? Because he is now he went back to being spirit, and so as spirit, then he works through us, and so he can do anything through us that he wants. And when we read the classic stories, we find out the victory of light that these followers had. That they went to their death with smiles on their faces, never expressed a moment of torment in what was happening. So, boy, did they have the spirit? They certainly must have been having a profound vision at the time of their execution to have a smile on their face. They must have been having something really supernatural going on. And that's something that we cannot appreciate because we've never even heard these things expressed before in modern Christianity, which is nothing other than Baskin Robbins, 600 different flavors. Choose the one that you like the best, and you can have it your way, but there is only one way, and you're welcome that way, and there's that way, and which way? The question, so we're pointing that way, and the way that we have to go, which is purity. And when one purifies their heart and their mind, when they're willing to separate themselves from the thing that offends, then we can see clearly, because the lower world and the detractions, the things that enslave us, they cause us to be blind, and when you are blind, you cannot see. And that's why Yeshua healed more blind people than anything else, because he was trying to show us that we were blind. He healed more, the mentally deranged. In fact, there was not one that wanted to be healed and he could not do it. Boom, 100%, right? 100%. story, there was somebody who wanted to be healed. He healed them. He healed them. And and of course, he was the one who made all things. The one who made all things, of course, as spirit, because he is spirit, but he came down in the flesh. And so that's the distinction, that he also came down to be like us as an elder brother, so that we ultimately could go up and become like him as a spirit. And so it's all a profound mystery, and we have to become adepts. We have to study. We have to, like everybody eats three square meals a day. How many people read 3 times a day? Probably not many, I'm sure. But we have to. Instead, we have to lose our life. If we don't lose our life, then we will lose our life. But if we give our life to him and lose it that way, then we will find life. But if we want to hang on to our lower realm and have a party, then we will lose our true essence, our true being. So it's a long journey. So I want to go into what I was trying to find the other day, and I couldn't find it. Here it is. It's out of the unknown life of Jesus the Christ, as it's titled, by Nicholas Notovich, and who went up into Tibet. This is from the book of the life of Yeshua. It's called the Book of Issa, but that's a corruption, and because they retranslate from the originals, and then they destroy the originals after they modify the words that they want to modify. That's how they classically have done it, because they don't want to get rid of the writings either. They think, well, maybe I want to back engineer it. Maybe I want to escape this world too. So they have their code, and their code is that's why I can actually, by the grace of Yeshua, back engineer the Indo-Germanic and the original thought, because it is code. And so once you know the science of the trickery and the symbols that they use in the code, then it gets rather easy, okay? Because it is a pattern. It's a pattern that they've worked with. So anyway, in this section here, which is chapter 10, it's not a big work. It's only about 13 chapters, give or take, and I'll read into it. And so the priest and the elders who heard him, and again, this was a gospel that went onto the Silk Road. This was the international version of the story of Yeshua, because there was a trading route that went through Shalom, through Jerusalem. Then they passed these out to those on the caravans that were coming through, obviously, and that's how it ended up in Tibet. Probably made it all the way to the Pacific Ocean, where what we call China today, and and Hong Kong and all those areas. This was an international version of the story. It went out to the world. And so it says, the priests and the elders who heard him were filled with admiration for his speech, for his diction. It says language, of course that's a corrupt word. Asked him if it was true that he had sought to raise the people against the authorities of the land, as he had been reported by Governor Pilate. And so, Pilate did his own investigation in here, and the good priest that examined Yeshua said, and they went to Pilate, they said, hey, we find no fault in him. He is one of our brothers. He says nothing contrary to our law, and therefore we wish no harm to come to him. So the good priests did their own investigation, and so Pilate knew that these wicked council of the Sanhedrin were out, for blood, because it was jealousy and also infringing on their monetary benefits, and so and therefore they were being exposed. So he says, can one rise against estrayed men to whom darkness has hidden their road and their door? Answered Yeshua. So I'll read that again. Can one rise against estrayed men to whom darkness has hidden their road and their door? And that sounds like, the followers of the Babylonian Talmud. I have but forewarned the unhappy, as I do here in this temple, And where he is somewhere either in India or Tibet at this time. As I do here, I have forewarned the unhappy, as I do here in this temple, that they should no longer advance on the dark road. For an abyss opens before their feet. The power of this earth, and this is the part I wanted to get to. The power of this earth is not of long duration. This is because we've been talking about where we are today. That it looks like we're at the end. If we listen to Dane Wigington, we know biologically, from the aspect of our nature and what is happening with the ozone layer and with the death of dying off of all species, that our days are numbered. We're at the end of our cycle on this planet for all of life. All of life. And so he says here, the power of this earth is not of long duration. Why? Because of the darkness. That's why. Because of the wickedness within man. The power of this earth is not of long duration and is subject to numberless changes. It would be of no avail for a man, Aishan, to rise in revolution against it. It would be of no avail for a man to rise in revolution against it. For one phase of it always succeeds another. And it is this that it will go on. And it is this, in this way it will go on until, get it, the extinction of life on this planet. Until the extinction of life on this planet.
Wow. Wow. And I'm so sorry to interrupt, but Gimpy's about to break the window down. I just have to let him in.
All right.
Yeah. So
I keep reading while you're doing that?
yes, please do. Please do. I'll just be a second. Okay, thank you.
But do you not see that the powerful and the rich sow among the children of Eshariyul a spirit of rebellion against the eternal power of the cosmos, the power of light, the power of the sun, the symbol of the great pool of Haim, the logo? Then the elders asked him, "Who are you, and from what land have you come to us? We have not formerly heard you speak of, and we don't even know your name." And he said, "I am an Israelite," answered Yeshua. "And on the day of my coming into this world, I have seen the walls of Yerushalayim, and have heard the crying of my brothers reduced back into slavery again, and the lamentations of my sisters carried away by pagans. And my soul was afflicted when I saw my brothers had forgotten the true Yahweh, who is the great Bull of Haim. When a youth, I left my father's house to go and settle among the other people." That's when he was 14 years old. And Ravana took him as his patron and protector and brought him to India because at age 14 they are regarded already as adults, and therefore he left and was gone for at least near a decade. But having heard it and said that my brothers suffered even greater miseries, now I have come back to the land of my fathers to recall my brothers to the victory of light of their ancestors, which teaches us patience upon earth in order to attain the perfect and supreme enlightenment above. And I guess, he's back. He's actually back in Jerusalem at this time when this is all occurring. If I misspoke there, forgive me.
No, I was just writing in the chat that I was back. That was all. Sorry.
Okay. Then the wise old men put to him again this question: "We are told that you disown the Moeshiach law, the law of Moses, and that you teach the people to forsake the temple of the great Dul of Haim, Yahweh, Adonai, as they falsely called him by then." Whereupon Yeshua one breathes. One does not demolish that which has been given by the great Father of light who rules from his throne in the sun, and which has been destroyed by sinners, by the blind. It was already irrelevant. The northern tribe was officially annihilated and banished in 730 BC, and then the smaller tribe of Utah, Benjamin and Benjamin, and the remaining Levites were banished to Babylon around 500 BC. Okay, so it was over. What came back is a pseudo Israel, but they followed the Babylonian Talmud. Okay, so whereupon he said, okay, I'm going to try this verse again. Whereupon Yeshua breathed, one does not just demolish that which has been given by our great Father of light who rules from his throne in the sun, and which has been destroyed by the blind, the merchants. I have but the phonies. I have but enjoined the people to purify their hearts from all the stain, for it is the veritable temple of Yahweh. As regards the law of Moshe Shaul, I have endeavored to reestablish them in the hearts of Ashan men. And I say to you, I breathe unto you that you ignore their true meaning. For it is not vengeance, but pardon, which they teach. Their sense has been perverted. Stone him. That'd be the classic, right? Stone him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stone him. Forget about mercy. We didn't like what he said. Let's stone him. Okay. So, but the main part is I wanted you to see that he said here the earth is not of long duration, and that it will go on until the extinction of earthly life on this planet. And that's what we're witnessing now, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Yeah, the greatest show on earth. These illuminated, phony illuminated, they do know technology. They do know, the secrets of technology, and that's what they use. So they don't have the Yahweh is not with them. He's with us. He's good to go for us. But we have to surrender to what his word says. We can't have our own agenda. We have to surrender the ego and the self. And so that's part of this, fantastic awakening that we have to come upon. And so I'm looking at my notes here, and I'm wanting to move forward. I have received two books that are of excellent nature by George Lamsa, and this is the Old Testament light, and then I have the New Testament light, and I wanted to just read a little bit because we need the light as much as we can.
Yes,
and
we
so,
do. Thank you.
Yes, we did. So where did I want to start here is my question. Okay, this is not too big. Okay, so Genesis, better shift, as I back engineered the word Genesis, of course, into the Indo-Germanic and found out it was Ganesha. Ganesha is the Ganesha is the Gain is the garden, and Asha is the royal eye, so it's the royal eye of the garden. So what is the royal eye of the garden? Genesis is the Ganesha, the royal eye. So it means you better be looking at it because it shows how everything began and came to be, and the story of the tribe of Asher-Reul was used. It was not that the tribe was special, although as Abraham was special, absolutely, and so was Boler Shaphay, Joseph, and Yaakov as well, Jacob, the seed of light, all of them, but then we saw what happened with the 10 brothers. They all turned on their father and turned on their younger brother Joseph, Boler Shaphay, and so this was to create a story. They were used. This tribe, as a vine on the tree, like a vine climbs up the side of a tree, was used to teach us something and to tell us a story. It wasn't that they, as a tribe, as a people, were more special. What it was is they were separated. They were separated out so that a storyline could be created with them so that we could then learn the true metaphors and the true journey. Well, one thing that I called a long time ago, the journey promise, that we have. So we have to interpret the symbols and meanings. So Genesis is the first book. This is part of the introduction by George Lamsa on Genesis. Genesis is the first book of the Pentateuch, the Greek translation of the Aramaic or biblical term, Kashama, Shefre de Moshe, the 5 books of Moses. They're also called the Law or the books of the Law of Moses. Genesis, and falsely called Torah, okay, falsely, because the Torah is the bull, okay?
Yeah.
They made a bull,
Yeah.
and they were condemned for it. They call it a calf because they were lying. The Masoretic text lies because they're controlling our narrative. That's why we have to see and read it for ourselves. So Torah came out of Babylon, and it is the bull that wants to gore you in the side, rattle you. So Genesis in Aramaic is Berita. We see in the Hebrew it's Bereshit, which means, in simple terms, creation, but a whole lot more. Even though the primary objective of the author of it is to give the Euthanians the history of what their ancestors was, and he included in his work an account of the creation of the sun, earth, and moon, and all the stars that are therein. This was necessary in order to give the genealogies of the patriarchs and of Avraham, the father and founder of the Hebrew race, and to picture their ancestral and cultural background and their diction and religion. The author traces Avraham's ancestry back to Adam, and to the divine promise which the great bull of Haim and Yahweh made to Keva through the woman. Evidently, some of the portions of the book of Ganesha, Genesis, Bereshit, were handed down orally, or others were written during the time of Moses. See, here's because the big narrow-minded view is that these are the 5 books of Moses. Moses wrote every word there. Don't mess with my Torah, okay? My 5 books of Moses. Well, the truth is it's made of 5 different source texts. From the J text, which is the Yahwistic text. That's why the 2nd chapter of Genesis is so different than the first, because that's the Yahwistic text. And then we got the Deuteronomy, priesthood Deuteronomy text, and we've got the book of Jasher also sliced in there. So it's undeniable. It's undeniable that what's called the 5 books of Moses, has multiple sources, and also the words of Moses, obviously, and his receiving of the 10 Commandments. So we have to see things as they really are, and not as the simple propaganda, goes. So some portions of the book of Genesis were handed down orally. This comes from a guy from the East, okay? This comes from George Lamsa, who gave us the most important transliteration of the Aramaic text in our history and set the record straight on that it wasn't, our writings are not a Greek source. The Greek was the secondary generation, okay? So some portions of the book of Genesis were handed down orally. Others were written during the time of Moses. So, and give me a break. Moses wrote about his death too, and according to the narrow-minded. The whole work was guided by a divine revelation. What the book of Moses really might be is the book of the cosmos, because you see the word Moses is an abbreviation of cosmos, and that's probably what it means, the cosmic law, the natural law that came down.
Wow.
Drawn out of the cosmic sea, as Moses was taken up out of the water of the river. This is what it really means, okay? It's a double meaning, certainly. And the whole work was guided by a divine revelation and Yahweh's inspiration. The author's aim was not to explain Yahweh's creation from a scientific point of view, but to give his people an idea that the Yahweh, who is the great Elohim of Eshur-Re'ul, was the creator and the architect of all the stars, the sun, earth, and moon, and that the pagan deities could not create, and they were false images, of course, and therefore were false gods created by men. There are 2 accounts of the creation in the book of Ganesha, Genesis. The first is the spiritual account, It's actually that part came from the Northern Kingdom. That was the Northern tribe account. And the great Elohim acted as Yahweh, creating everything by his command. The second is second chapter is an explanation as a commentary on the first, and that's the Alwistic text that's also found in the British Museum. And Moffat, he did a version of it in the 1920s and put in italics all of the Alwistic text, so there would be no doubt about it. Okay, and so let me continue here. And Israel was creator of the sun, earth, and moon, and pagans could not create. Okay, and so these are the two accounts of the creation in the book of Genesis. The first is a spiritual account, and Yahweh acted as the great Father, creating everything by his command. The second, actually, acting as the mother, the feminine, which is creation. And the second is an explanation or a commentary on the first. The many centuries, for many centuries, the two accounts of the creation. Get this. This is destroys the narrow-minded, King James only. Moses wrote the 5 books. No other. Here it is. For many centuries, the two accounts of the creation and other sacred materials were handed down on separate scrolls or tablets, from the original source. What we call the 5 books of Moses, now I'm interjecting, was compiled in Babylon. It was compiled in Babylon because they had lost their culture. They had lost their nation. They had lost their temple. They had lost their library. And so now they had to regroup. That's all they had left. And so they took all these source writings and they brought them all together and called it the Book of the Cosmos, the 5 books of Moses, the whole purpose of the creation itself. Okay? They were at the center, but they fell because of paganism, because of idolatry, because they separated themselves from the sacred when they should have been separate from the corrupted. Okay, and so only after many years, actually we're talking thousands, because the writing started before the flood with Enoch and the others. Come on, these people built temple civilizations and anti-gravity vimanas, the fallen watchers. Were they not able to write? How could they do it without writing? What we call the Phoenician alphabet is the most complex, but the most simple, form of communication that they kept hidden from us. Okay, so then only after many years where they combined these separate writings into a single work called the Book of Moses. Moreover, some of these accounts were written by different scribes. Marginal notes were often incorporated into the text and copied by later scribes. For example, the prayer of David, the son of Jesse, are ended. Psalm 72:20. Example. The prayers of David, the son of Jesse, are ended. The note was written to facilitate the reading of the book, the burden of Babylon, which Isaiah, the son of Amos, did see, Isaiah 13:1. The burden of Moab, Isaiah 15:1. The burden of Damascus, Isaiah 17:1. And many other such instances are scribal notes which are copied into the book itself. Okay? So, let there be light, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll be doing more out of this book and the one I'm working on right now, the New Testament Light, coming up.
Wow.
Tonight, though, with Forbidden History Live. And so that'll be at, I'm going to see if we can get our engineer to start at 8 Eastern Time instead of 9. I realize, waiting till later in the evening, it didn't help me on Friday, so I'm just trying
to... Okay, so 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
You never go to sleep, so it's not a problem.
I know. I'm just thinking that would be
I'm over
10.
60,
I know. 10 a.m. 10 a.m. 8 p.m. is 10 a.m. here. Yes.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll figure it out.
So
right.
what?
So we'll find out. We have to talk to our engineer.
Okay.
And see if that's good. So Lisa is asking what is my channel, and she can go to Leah, not Lisa. Sorry, Leah J.
And hi, Shelley.
Yeah. Oh, there she is. Our engineer. He is good. Thank you. Okay. So yeah, that with tonight is Forbidden History Live. 3 words, Forbidden History Live, and then my original channel that is at the moment inoperative because I lost my passwords and working on a way to get back in. And I have to fix my emails first, so I've got several hurdles to go over. But my main channel, where I've produced starting June 21st, a major series starting last year, is the Forbidden History series. 4 words, the Forbidden History series. Okay, so we've got 3 Forbidden History channels that we're working through right now, and I'm so grateful for support of Ninja and also Shelly G to help produce this work. And I'm just the instrument, and it's all Yeshua, and it's because he loves us so much that he'll take a guy who didn't want to get back in a truck and would rather sit in the Quonset hut or in a gas station in Florida or wherever, even in a tent if it came down to it, to get the message out and to continue to be able to study and read, because truck driving is twice being a slave, and that wasn't going to work if I was going to be able to produce this work. So we have a translation project that we're supporting, and Ninja, you want to tell them real quick how they can support, and that way it'll give me about a 2-minute break, and the PayPal email and all that, because I'm being persecuted here, having to pack everything up and relocate to another state because the Freemasons hate, they want to be the only ones claiming the light, and they hate the fact that I know too much. So I've been targeted here in this town. Yeah, do that, and I'll be right back in about 2 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
You're done. Thank you.
No worries. So if you would like to help Desert, help him to relocate and get this transliteration project happening, because every time he gets close, like he was just saying, something happens. You can go to www.therealpublicradio.net. That's www.therealpublicradio.net, and hit the donate button there. Any size donation, anything helps. When you do that, we will send you some PDFs, especially if you're new to this. The PDFs come in very handy to help get it, to help see the big picture and understand. Anyway, you will get a PDF of the Real Da Vinci Code Etymological Dictionary written by Dezert-Owl. Also, a copy of the Book of Wisdom and a sample of the original Gospel with a more up-to-date version of the dictionary at the back of it. If you can't afford to donate and you want the PDFs, we can get them to you. That's fine. And my email is in the description of every live stream. So you can contact me to get the PDFs, because Desert can't access his email or his channel at the moment. So yeah, I also highly recommend that you go back to June 21st last year, 2018, on Desert's channel, the Forbidden History series, and start at the beginning and watch from there, especially with the PDFs. It's powerful stuff. It's an amazing program, and like I've seen through so many lies since I started watching the Forbidden History series. It's amazing. Anyway, Desert is available for interviews, or just to chat, or to answer questions. We do take live callers on the program. You can
And we
contact...
also take dead callers too, right?
Yes, we do.
Any callers are accepted. We don't discriminate here.
You can call Desert on 608-566-7295. That's 608-566-7295. Just add a +1 at the start if you're international. For this program only, the Forbidden History Chronicles, to call Desert live, you need to text him first so he can call you. We're very high tech here. Or you can Skype him at Free America Radio. That's all one word, Free America Radio. And also please subscribe to Forbidden History Live. Our Yo engineer just got it going, and it's really good. It's fantastic. Yeah. So it's just like the good old days, a little bit more up to date, I guess. Yeah. So 3 channels. I think that was it. Oh yeah, Desert. Before we continue, hopefully we will be doing this through Skype next Chronicles live stream. So yeah,
Okay.
I think I've figured it out. I just have to download something to get it set up.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah. Okay. So before I get into New Testament Light by George Lamsa, his other book, I just want to mention, because yesterday we did on Forbidden History Live, yesterday morning, no morning, it was the dawn. It was the early dawn.
Early dawn.
Actually, it was noon. It was around 9 noon, actually.
It was my early dawn. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So when we did that, I did an important read out of the book by Zakei called the Essene Book of Aisha, and I read the introduction story about the Zoroastrian tradition in Persia, and it was quite a telling story. It was a book of wisdom. It was a story of wisdom and how the king was interacting with Zoroaster, also known as Zarathustra, and so the thing to take note about this story, because they also recognize the one deity, the one, the play of the one, and which was an important for the people in that part of the world, and there are people there still following that pure tradition of the Mithraic tradition. So what's really interesting about the story, I meant to mention it, and I think part of it, I may have mentioned that it was the Cyrus, who was also mentioned in the scriptures in several places in our Old Covenant, that he was mentioned there, and then he was the one appointed to send back people from Babylon to Mazer, or excuse me, he called it Mazer, Egypt, to Jerusalem, and to rebuild the temple. But what's also interesting is then 450 years later, from Persia again, come 3 wise men following a star, traveling on camels over 1,000 miles from Persia to find the one who would be the ruler of the world. And yet no one from Jerusalem, even when they were given notice about it, went looking for him in Bethlehem. Only the Persian wise men came. So it shows the parallel nature of the story of Israel and what Zoroaster was doing by recognizing the one, when most of traditions were polytheistic, and therefore working with the priesthood idea of many gods. Many gods, better that there be many gods to keep all of us priests employed than to acknowledge the truth that there was really one God, or one great Elohim, God being a corruption, meaning the Pope, really. So the wise men, they brought gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Well, amazing story and that come out of Persia. Our story is founded upon the very beginning of the story is also incorporated with the Mithraic tradition of the One, knowing about the deity, the One. Of course, Yeshua is in the flesh, so he's Elohim, spirit made flesh. Just like we are spirit and made flesh, you see. Only he was the perfect one. He was the one who conquered death, and then allows us a way through himself, through his body, to transcend this world. Okay, so it's something I just wanted to add. That was an important part that I left out, meant to mention yesterday. So the wise man of Persia. So now we have
that was cool.
New Testament Life, and the book is New Testament Life by George M. Lamb. So more light on the Gospels, Acts, the letters, and Revelation. Over 400 passages explained. Originally published as More Light on the Gospel. So let me open it up here. Still reading the introduction. And here's an example. I'm going to give one example out of the introduction I just read this morning about the problem of translation, to just continue to add light to it. One of the worst translations ever made by the translators is found in Luke 14:26. It reads, "If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, and even his own life also, he cannot be my disciple." Lamson says here it should read, "He who comes to me and does not put aside his father and his mother and his brothers and his sisters and his wife and his little ones, and even his own life, cannot be a truth seeker of mine."
Wow.
The word hate is mistranslated. Yeshua would never have used such a phrase. He was a seed planter of love, not of hatred. The wrong rendering of this verse has puzzled many sincere readers of the star message of enlightenment, the gospel. More than that, in Near Eastern lands, Bibles are burned because of this verse.
Wow.
No Eastern Moeshiach game or Christian or Yudin would ever permit his children to read a gospel with this verse in it. The people in those lands love their fathers and mothers and offspring. And because of this mistranslation, communistic and atheistic writers have called Yeshua the preacher of hatred. The Aramaic word for hate and to put aside is written almost identically as the word fair in English. That's F-A-I-R, as in color, and fair as in judgment, or the word light as well as illuminated, or light as in a heavy weight. Light meaning a light weight. So we see that one word, even in our diction, can be expressed in multiple ways, and that's one of the challenges of transliteration.
Yeah.
Yes, that's an example.
Wow.
But it still doesn't change the aspect of what it implies. And what it implies is that we put Yeshua first in our lives, and therefore nobody comes between. Because another verse he said was, "If anyone loves their mother or their father or sister or brother more than they love me, then they are not worthy of the kingdom of the royal domain." So it is, everything has to be taken in its proper order, and what we call context. I prefer pretext. Okay. So in here we have on angels ministered, and of course angels is a misnomer. Should be malakim, or the royal messengers. So then the temptations left him, and you must see and read it for yourself. The royal family found him, and they ministered to him. And so how they corrupted it is the devil, the word devil, for the temptation that is in his ego and in his flesh. And then the word angel being misconstrued for the royal family was the royal family who found him when you read the Lost Writings. And so they said he was near starvation, and so they literally saved his life. He wasn't going to make that loaf of bread from a stone. He wasn't going to do it to save his life. He was proving himself the ultimate master over the serpent, over the flesh. Okay, so the royal messengers ministered to him, an Eastern idiom meaning that the great Elohim or Yahweh's counsel took care of him. Royal messengers can minister to Ashan's soul and to guide and strengthen him during temptation. Royal messengers, and so Yeshua, the whole idea about angels have been misconstrued. That's one of the great ironies in this, in our scriptures. They created, just like they created aliens. They created
angels and demons and aliens. I thought they were all real. Sorry.
It's man. It's always been man who's behind everything.
Yeah.
And Yeshua needs no help to do anything. He was given all power. All power was given unto him. So there's nothing he cannot do. He doesn't. It's a part of the the priesthood. It's what the priesthood does. That's their job. So Yeshua, during his temptations, was helped by his counsel and by the Holy Scripture, which he quoted in order to counteract the false thoughts which crept into his mind. In other words, the tempting. In other words, Yahweh's counsel prevailed over the serpent or the illusion and was defeated. Yahweh's royal messengers or counsel are always ready to assist those who trust in him. The great Elohim is constantly ministering to man. Yaakov said to Esau, Jacob said to Esau, I have seen you as a royal messenger in my dream. Yaakov, the seed of light, was afraid of Esau, thinking the latter would avenge the wrongs which Yaakov, the seed of light, had done to him. But when he met him, he found Esau as innocent and harmless as a royal messenger of light. Royal messengers of Yahweh also gave counsel to Vole Shaphe and the Virgin Mare. Yeah. Well, of course, Gabriel is the giver of light. Gabriel is Yeshua. You see, who gives light? Yeshua. And all these things have been convoluted and altered so that we cannot get the right picture. So, and I'll do some more out of that tonight as well on Forbidden History Live. And I'm going to just do one out of symbolism.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Well, talking about the so-called angels and all those things, they have so many. The main one that came to mind was the Archangel Michael. Like, I know the angels aren't real, so are they?
Well, not that they're not real. It's defining who they really are in the narrative. Yeah.
Okay.
In other words, our idea of creatures with wings on their back come from the Babylonian tradition, and it represents parentage or the lineage of the occultists. They're having the wings on their back means they have transcended this world and gone back to the light, which is a lie. Okay. They are the mother sons of darkness.
Okay.
And so we are told not to make images of things in the sun, of the cosmos, of the air, of the land, or in the water, because they create false images, and that's part of the problem.
So were they real? Were they real men, like Aryans? Pretending.
We're talking about Michael. Michael means the one who is like Yah, as we see Michael only mentioned in the book of Jude and the book of before Revelation, and he says, and I saw Michael coming with 10,000 of his thousands to render judgment upon the earth. Well, that's Yeshua.
Okay.
Yeshua, who is the one who is like Yahweh? It is Yeshua. So he came to render justice and judgment. So the other people were kicked out. They were kicked out since 2,000 years ago. They're in the outer darkness where there's weeping and the clenching of teeth. And only those who get into the body of Yeshua, therefore into his light, have relationship and are in the process of waking up to the new reality, to the age of the second born. That's what the firstborn are dead. They were annihilated. That's what the story in Meitzar, also called Egypt, also symbolizes. That the firstborn are dead. How? In what's called sins and trespasses, or in blindness and darkness. If you're blind and in the darkness, you must have your eyes closed, and maybe you're even in the grave. You see? So we got to talk symbolism and metaphor because that's how it comes to us.
Yeah.
Not as we literally hear it.
They messed it up so much. Like that was part that I just wanted clear in my head. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we go into, just hang on a second, Ninja.
Okay.
Where are they tuned in?
Forbidden History Chronicles, with NinjaCat 111, and Dezert-Owl from the Forbidden History series YouTube channel. Please go back and watch from the start, June 21st, 2018, last year. It's amazing. And grab your PDFs, any size donation to help with the transliterational project is very welcome at www.therealpublicradio.net. And you will get PDFs. If you don't have any money to donate and you want a copy of the PDFs, just go to any description of these live streams, and my email is there. Just contact me and I'll get them to you. So
Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you. So I open up my Lanza Bible. Bible is code for the covering of the L. The bib is the covering. It's really the shofar, the soul fire. And how they change all these words, and these words mean something. The Yeshavors, and we've been given kindergarten terms, like the Dick and Jane reader. Run, Spot, run. See Puff, the cat. Oh yes, Jane likes Puff. Oh, take Puff. So it's like, okay, that's all we have anymore. Is what they gave us in this little stupid nonsense of the mixing up of the real meanings of these very important terminologies. The science of which affords therefore our transcendence, but only if we can see and read it for ourselves. And since they changed all the words, how can we read it for us, see and read it for ourselves if they changed the words? So like in Isaiah, talking about, these ideas about, I'm going to pray tonight. Somebody will classically say, I'm going to pray tonight that 10 angels are parked all around you and nobody's going to touch you. Like where did that come from? My Redeemer is all powerful and he needs nobody. I don't need 10 of whatever you're talking about camped around me, because he is the active principle in this universe. He is the first made, and he made all things. And you think he needs a little support? He needs a little help? Give me a break. You see? And so we're going to find out where these other spirits are. Let's pose, because I would pose two questions. One, on what day, as the first 6 days of creation, were devils created, or was a Satan created, or was Lucifer created? Because even Lucifer is not found in our scriptures. I have the 3 or 4 most important translations in modern time, and they all acknowledge the word Lucifer was interpolated and put in there and doesn't belong in the scriptures. And so we can say the same about the word Satan. Okay, I even have it marked in my Fenton where it appears the first time. I think it's in the book of Chronicles. And it's in reference to another nation. And because they were the enemy, they simply said, is that not Satan? Just change one word. And so when was the day? Show me the day that Satan, Lucifer, and the devil and demon were created in those first 6 days. Show me that, and then let's see what Yahweh says himself, starting in chapter 43 of Isaiah. And I'm just going to go down to where my highlights are, as in verse 9, where he's now making a profound statement. Who among you can declare this and show us the former things? That's what we're talking about. And we go down to verse 11. Even I, am the Yahweh, and besides me there is no other. I have declared that I have saved. I have proclaimed that there is no strange deity, it says God here, no strange Elohim, no strange Elohim among you, no God among you. Okay? It's all in the mind. Continuing, therefore you are my witnesses, says Yahweh, that I am the great Elohim. Okay? I am He, verse 13. And there is none that can deliver or steal out of my hands. What I will do, who can stop it? I'm going to flip the page. Okay, next chapter, 44, on verse 6. I am the first. Or I'll start the verse at the beginning, 6. Thus said, this is what Yahweh, who is the great Malek, the Malek of Dezert-Owl, the king, therefore, Malek is king, royal messenger, correctly. The Savior is the royal messenger. He's the one who came down 2,000 years ago and gave us the message. And his Savior. I am the Malek of Dezert-Owl and his Savior, the Yahweh of the true stars, because we were all supposed to be like the stars of heaven. I am the first and I am the last. And beside me, there is no other. There is no other Elohim. Okay? It says God, so it would be Elohim. Continuing. I'm going to read what 7 says. And who is like me? Let him announce it and set it in order and declare it, since I placed the people on earth to live forever, and let them show the wonders that have now come. Fear not, neither be alarmed. This is verse 8. Have not I announced to you from former time and have declared it? You are my witnesses that there is no Elohim beside me, and no mighty one who I do not know. The makers of images, here you go, verse 9. The makers of images are all of them vanity.
Wow.
There is nothing there. And there is no profit in the works which they desire to make. The craftsmen who make them are witnesses, for they see not, they hear not, they know nothing. Therefore let them be ashamed, those who make Elohim, gods, or graven and molten images that are profitable for nothing. Going down, verse 15. They also make gods of it and worship it. Verse 17. Deliver us, for you are the great Elohim. So you see, when we hear this, so let's go. I'm going to go further, but I just want to back up with this thought. That so when we hear about the fallen angels, when we hear the story about a third of the angels came down, well, this is how the story has been corrupted, because the fallen ones are the Aryans, who were the brothers and cousins and relatives of Enoch, the offspring of Adam, who said, hey, we're sick of this monastic praying and fasting and being good. We see all the stuff going on down there. We want to conquer this planet and have a party and enslave everybody else. We know everything from the origin of this universe to the story of the one who would come to save mankind at the end of the world, to the mixing of species, to metallurgy, cutting of stone, the free energy. We got it all, and we're going to capitalize on it now. See you later. So they come down, and so they're the ones who are being called fallen angels, but the terminology is wrong, because angels are English, go look in the Latin dictionary from 1812 that I've got, or look in the Middle English dictionary I've got. Angels are the English, the angel Saxons. So just like the Jews put their name in our scriptures, right? They took out Judean, or they took out Israel, or they took out Hebrew, and they put Jew. And they take it all the way back now to the Exodus, that the Jews were in, Maitar prior to coming out in the Exodus. How did that happen? Because they were called Israel, and they only had one tribe of Utah, but he didn't call himself a Jew. There is no J, there is no W, and even the E is a corruption from that standpoint, and a lesser vowel. So the trickery that they played is immense. The deception, just like that hologram you showed at the beginning of this broadcast.
Yeah.
What a deception,
Exactly.
There's nothing they can't do on this earth because they've been given license to do it. It's part of the shell game that we have to unravel. We can benefit from their darkness because they are the proverbial scapegoat. Yeshua needed a scapegoat to sell him out, right? He had to have, and what was his name? Judas, because he represents the tribe that sold him out because he was in Jerusalem, in the tribe of Judah, which tribe he was of, and so his own people, if they were his people, that's the question. Were they his people, or were they Babylonians purely? Because that's what happened with the supplement when they took out the northern 10 tribes. They replaced them with Babylonians and Ninevites.
Wow.
They were no longer. That's why even the priesthood wanted nothing to do with the Syrians, because they knew that they weren't the 10 tribes anymore. You see. So going further, they also where you at here? Okay, deliver us. Okay, and chapter 45. I am Yahweh, and there is no one else. I formed the light, and I created the darkness. But remember, the darkness is void, right? It's just a void. There's nothing there. That's why, he can say that, because what came out of that in the mixing of creation then is those who embrace the darkness. So we have a choice. We can embrace the darkness, or we can embrace the light. You see? Because the darkness, there's nothing there. So when it says he made the darkness, well, it just means he removed the light, and that's all you had left. But when the darkness comes, what happens? Everything lights up. So going a little further, verse 45, 21, and besides, and there is no one other Yahweh besides me, or great Elohim, a just Yahweh, and a Savior. There is no one beside me. There is no one beside me. You see, like someone might want to use the story of Job. When he and remember, Job is not a document that belonged in Assyrial. It's a supplemented, interpolated book that came out of Nineveh. Okay, so it's not of the tribe of Israel, and so in there it says, and then Satan, again, whoever this guy is, went up to Yahweh and said to him, hey, I've been going around, looking around the earth, and you got this guy Job down there. He's looking pretty good, but why don't you, do something to him, and maybe he'll curse you. And so you see, it's like, in other words, it's like an Aesop fable. Aesop fables were telling truths, but they were using animals to tell the story. So we know that there was no turtle or rabbit that could talk, and they weren't really in a race, right? And the turtle won the race in the end because he's consistent, right? It's all a metaphor, right?
Yeah.
You see, so it's to teach us, to tell us something. But people then take these stories literally, and therefore now they're lost, because they can't see through the haze of what the machinations of man have done. So did I give you another example that there's nobody next to the great Elohim, Yahweh, other than himself? That he and the Father are one, and they do all things. They are the active force in our universe, and we are the royal messengers. We, therefore, are the ones who act on behalf of Yahweh or the great Elohim. We are, therefore, in the idea of angels. We are the angels.
Wow.
We are the royal. the supreme royal messenger is Yeshua. He is the Michael. He is the one, meaning the one who is like Yahweh. He is the Gabriel, which means the giver of light. He is the one who gives light. I and the Father are one. That's what he said. I and the Father are one. How long have I been with you and you have not known me? You see?
Yeah.
So the spirits, the wicked spirits that are affecting us are those in darkness, men
Yep.
and women, who love the darkness and drink blood and rape and pillage and murder. They're the demons.
Yeah.
They're the devils if there ever was one.
Wow.
Like, by that point, mention.
Sorry.
Did I make it all clear now?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. That was amazing. I think that's the longest answer I've ever had. That was so cool. Yeah.
I know I've mentioned this before, but I lose track of when I did it. You know, every now and then we got to repeat it again because new people are listening in
Yeah.
and trying to get the picture.
Yeah.
So
Well, some of that I needed to hear again because I'd forgotten. For example, the word angel and angle. Yeah, I was just getting very confused with, because I'm not familiar, like I'm not well versed in scripture. Yeah, I was just getting confused with like where the angels, like the story of them originated and how that was created. And so thank you for clearing that up. Yeah.
Yeah, they got everybody thinking that a snake talks in the garden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If there's somebody talking, well, who was the only other one besides Eve that had the ability to talk, that named everything on the planet? Who?
Adam.
Yeah. So he's the only one talking, and therefore so the serpent, whatever it means, then we got to research it. When I looked it up, it was Naga in the Strong's. Wait a minute, Naga I know is abbreviated for the Nagash. The Nagash is the wise serpent. But then, you know, when I looked at it further, then I realized it was then that's when I finally was able to connect the original source of the word prophet, which was the navigator, and it is therefore in the modern the navigator, the star navigator. He came down from the light. He'd been up there the whole time creation was going on, and then he comes down as in the last instance, after all other tribes and races and creation and the processions and all those things, the long process of our creation that occurred. Earth has been here for like 3.5 billion years. So and he was the first made when there was nothing here but earth, dirt, lava, and water. And out of the fire, he was made, the purified lava, that flowed out of the volcano. And then he was taken up to the throne of the sun, where his spirit and his physical form were one while he was up there. But when he fell, when he was placed into the lower garden, taken out of Eden, as it still says there, you can go read it.
Yeah.
It still says it. I'm given the correct narrative because it's been so watered down, convoluted, that nobody can read it and get the picture. I only saw it clearly 5 years ago after all these years of study. And I first saw that Adam was, the Aryan race, and that was a year earlier when I was in between apartments, and just reading books 12 hours a day. So it's a process that we have to go through. The lies are so great, so it takes a lot to wake us up to the to this reality that we.
Can I ask another question? Can I ask another question? Can I ask another question?
Sure.
I don't know if I've already heard this or not, but since we're doing a bit of revision and it's good for new listeners as well, how did I'm just reading the chat. Love you guys. How did you get to did you use the code to discover Aryan, like the word Aryan? And yeah, how did you come across that?
Well, I'm not sure. Um, we all know about the word Aryan, so I don't think you're phrasing the question right. I think you're saying, how did I make the connection that Adam was Aryan? Is that the question?
Yeah, yeah, because when people talk about the Aryans, they refer to beings from outer space, like from Orion and from uh, I can't pronounce this right. The Pledonians or whatever you want to call them. How did you figure all that out? Yeah. How did you relate it back to Adam being the first Aryan?
Well, it's because of a lot of elements in the story. Because I recognize, first of all, Adam being the first made. It's a connection with a whole series of other discoveries. Recognizing, like one day I said, wait a minute, there's two gardens. What's going on? Because we all hear of Garden of Eden, and then then the garden. But then all of a sudden, wait a minute, what does it say? Oh, it says that he was the first made. Then he was taken up and placed into the Eden. Placed into the Eden, which of course is corruption for the word Adam, meaning he was placed into the sun. So we have to recognize the light, what it symbolizes, and what the sun is the symbol of. It is the great logo, so it says that Adam was the first made. Then he comes down last after all of the creation is made here. He's named everything. He's named everything. He gave. It says right there. You can still read it that Yeshua takes him up. And then he puts him in the garden, and then he's naming everything. Yeshua makes all things, and so therefore he's going to he wanted to see what he would call them. And so, and the fact that he was so good at naming things, when it says that he was taken out of Eden and placed into the garden, okay, he came out of Eden, out of the flowing light, and placed into the garden, into the lower state. That's when he fell asleep, because he's in a different nature. He the spirit that he had when he was in the throne of the sun as he's in another state. That's the only way I can say it without understanding it better, so comprehending it better. So what happens? He wakes up, and then he sees his other half. He's a divided creature. That's what is symbolized here. He's no longer in the virgin light. He has fallen out from the light into the lower creation, the lower garden. This duality that we have to deal with. It's always about a dual aspect to teach us something. And so he said, hey, you're the mother of all living. Whoa, man, woman, woo. He's excited. He knows what can go on between them two. She doesn't. He gets it, and he's excited. You see, that's what the fall is really all about.
Yeah.
About the carnal knowledge. That's why they covered. What did they cover? They didn't cover their chest. They didn't cover their faces. They covered their private parts, because they had just had an experience.
Yeah.
The night before, and he knew he lied to her. So now we're talking about what they represent as the light creation, that which came last. What comes last in the story is what Yeshua gave us. He gave us the light. Well, what came last as a symbol came those who are called the sky gods, or the sun gods, or these different terminologies that they're using for the Aryan race. But I always thought for decades, always up until 6 years ago, that all the races came out of Adam. Black, yellow, red, white, all the races came out of Adam. But then when I could see it more clearly, then all of a sudden I realized that wasn't the case. Because it's obvious, if we're of Caucasian, that we didn't have African parents.
Yeah.
There's clearly a distinction between African and Caucasian.
Yeah.
And this is not to take away from the African people, because they're a beautiful race by themselves.
Yeah, it's just an example.
And so are the Oriental, Oriental, meaning those from the east with a smaller a body, and also their eyes are very different than our eyes. So without knowing, because we'd have to refer to Japanese, Chinese, Indonesian, we have to name all of them to say it's Oriental, which means the east. For those from the east. So I always thought that all the races came out, but then I realized that no, what happened, because I knew, I was waking up to, that the Aryans were the fallen ones, and that, that it wasn't the invisible creatures with wings on their back, and they somehow mated with the children of Cain, who were the redhead spotted because he had the stain of blood. All of this, it's been a long journey of awakening, and in the end, it's like the Fibonacci, the spiral, right? The spiral gets bigger as the snail grows, or the ram's horn gets bigger. The spiral gets bigger. And so at one point, the cup just overflows, with the ability to see this. And so that's why, like when I pointed out about the rivers, that there was no literal four rivers, that's called Tigris and Euphrates and, Gihon and whatever the other one is, that they were symbols, as we clearly saw it in Philo. And it's the same thing then with when, after the flood, Noah, it says he has three sons. One of them, is the Oriental race. One of them is the African race. One of them, is the Aryan race. Give me a break. Give me a break. How can one not see that we're only talking 5,000 years ago? Technically, from the flood, 5,000 years ago. So after the flood, all the races that we see, these primitive races, we know that it's clear that Africans are primitive from their culture. You can look at their culture and know that. Then we have to talk about the pyramid civilizations, from around the world. And so like if all the animals were really on Noah's Ark, give me a break, it would have broke the ark, right?
Yeah.
It would have broke the ark. In fact, how come only marsupials are in Australia, right? Wouldn't marsupials be in every other part of the world? Wouldn't all the animals be blended together? Because it was, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Or how did the animals get there after the flood? So we have to look at the problems. We have to look at the problems as who was it, Socrates says, the best way to get to the answer is to keep throwing questions at something. Remember, they don't care what the answers are as long as you're asking the wrong questions. You see? And so the priesthood has controlled our scriptures. Man has been here perhaps as long as 1,000,000 years, and certainly easily within the last 100,000 years, races of people have been here, but it looks far older with the geological and archaeological evidence. So we have enigmas within our creation. So it became clear to me, it became so blatantly obvious that what happened was that which was made first is that which came last, and the last race after all the other races is the Aryan.
Wow.
And it was because that Yahweh, who is Yeshua, the Father and the Son are one, he had to come down through the pure Aryan line because he represents the light, the sun, the golden hair, the flowing wisdom, the rays of light, the white skin, the white of a star, and the blue eyes, the color of the sky. Because he made all things, it makes sense that he would create his own form prior to coming here based on his preference, which would be that which represents the light of the sun and of the cosmos, the stars, and the sky, the beautiful virgin blue sky. Not nighttime, but daytime, And so this is where we then get the Nazaré. So I made the connection with the Nazaré, that which was breathed from the beginning at the first. He names all things, and then he comes last, And so he was the pure line, and so that's why the line of Nova, then through Zavram Haim, which is Abraham, they preserved this pure line, and then that's what the Nazaré represented, because that's why Jacob and Isaac in particular, and his wife Rebekah, they were appalled at Esau. It's interesting that Esau comes out red and hairy, because what he ended up marrying taken a couple wives, they are Canaanites, and they are redhead and spotted. So he's born with the very color that was the stain of blood that was put upon Adam, and was therefore the race of the Phoenicians and the Canaanites, which were one and the same, and therefore it was purely symbolic. But he was born this way to tell us a story, because what happened with Jacob? Did he take Canaanite wives? No. He went to Padam Aram, which is also from the Greek Mesopotamia, and took wives from the pure Aryan line. Padam Aram, Zabram, the Fedam Sabram means, the sovereigns. The Aryan race were on that high plateau of Mesopotamia, in between the rivers. The point I was making about the sons of, Noah, Shem, Ham, and Yalfeh, they were this whole idea that all the races came out of them is purely the manipulation of the priesthood. Purely the manipulation of the priesthood. That because they say Ham went to Africa, when we read it according to the original thought and what these names really mean, then it's a whole other story. Okay, it's a whole other story, because Ham means the breath of the many, and so Ham represented all the races of the world, and Shem, who is correctly Asham, it represents Melchizedek, who therefore is clearly Aryan, but yet when we read the book of Jasher, we found out that the firstborn was actually Japheth. Okay, and Yalfeh means the light that goes round, the light of the sun that goes round. You see, and so the meaning of their names has definite bearing on the story, and so when we can interpret the words correctly, then maybe we can really get the picture. Just like it's possible to interpret the word devil, Satan, demon, all these words which are not one and the same thing, but all have different distinct meaning. Devil meaning adversary, Hashatan meaning the accuser, and demon meaning of mental condition of the moon, the demonic, the lunatic. So all of these words have relevant meaning, but everybody just groups them in together in a little soup because they can't interpret it.
Yeah.
They just buy in whatever they've been told. What my classic statement would have been as of about 10 years ago. What I wanted to say to people when I was waking up even more profoundly and saw the insanity of all these so-called Christians out there. And I would say to them, the things that you follow, are these things that have been revealed to you? Or are these the things that have been handed to you by tradition? Because what I found out in all of the tradition is a big, fat lie. And what I have woke up to is what has been revealed to me through the great mystery, through the veil, piercing the veil onto the reality of the great scam that has been played upon man. And what it said in Revelation is that they deceived the entire world. You're going to tell me you're going to become you're going to pick up your King James Version and now you got it all? Just because you got religion, just because you picked up a book, and yet you never learned how to read or interpret or find the legacy behind it, unravel the mysteries, none of that, and you already got it? Because that's typical to what we find with this bigotry of God religion. Now, don't tell me anything. I already got it all. It's funny, I don't have it all. I admit to it, But it's far deeper than the surface. People want to stay in the little shallow bay where you can still see the bottom, instead of going out there in the deep ocean where you can't see the bottom and it's all dark down there. Everyone was afraid to go out into the big deep. They didn't think they'd come back.
Wow. I wasn't afraid. I'm not speaking metaphorically now. I used to live next to the ocean, and I used to get in trouble off my parents for venturing out too far and too deep all the time. Yeah. I'm just seeing a parallel there now.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was me too. I did that at high tide a few times and went out swimming in the deep by myself or with one other. When I was only like 10 years old or something, you know,
Yeah,
and
I
I
used to love
kept
it out
imagining
there. Yeah.
a shark biting my leg,
Yep,
you know, I'm
same.
thinking, what am I doing here?
Yeah, it still didn't stop me though. I used to love going out past the breakers where it was all nice and calm and just keep going. And I imagined the same thing, sharks swimming around underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so,
Wow.
right, so we're on symbolism, and I just want to do one real quick out of the Encyclopedia of Symbols, Va, V-A, and remember there's parallels with the other cultures. So
Yeah.
this is Egyptian, and it means the soul, but it's a universal term. The only problem is the B is a corruption, and it's Va.
Okay.
So if AV is the star, then when you reverse it, the VA becomes the soul. It's the opposite end of the spectrum. It's the reversal. We are the reverse image of the light, of the sun. We are products of light and have to identify with the light so we can go back to the light. So literally, Ba, VA, as in boy, apple, is correctly VA, which is Victor Anthony. So the VA represents the soul, and then if we add the T at the end, get this, VAT, as in Vatican, as in, the VAT is the word serpent, you see? So the serpent soul is the Vat. And that's why the Pope is wearing the serpent hat of Dagon, which is an abbreviation of the word dragon, which is really just the serpent. And Babylon, they were wearing fish because, again, they didn't want to give the immediate picture that it was a serpent, so they wore fish clothing. But the fish also symbolizes a serpent anyway. Really, a fish is a serpent. It's a sea serpent. And so the Ma is the soul depicted as a bird or a human-headed bird or somebody with wings on their back, maybe what we call angels, you see. So it's the transcendent soul with the wings on its back symbolically. And so that's a word for today. And
can I just say wow? Wow, just wow. Like my jaw literally dropped. It fell on the desk just then. Does it?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just wow. Yeah. I just. oh, yeah.
That's because you hear it here first, right?
That's right. That's exactly it. Yeah.
It's to me it's I call my journey the Trail of Visions. It's been a long journey of discovery and I was I come into this world as the most unqualified for this, because I as I've talked about my past and how it was just like it was that free range chicken and learned everything from my friends, which is the hardest way to learn things, and then you have to discover everything on your own. I didn't have it. I had to, and it was beautiful because I identified with the spirit, with my true parents, Yeshua, or Yahweh, which is beyond male female, but the male female are constituted within Yahweh, the all-encompassing. That's the androgyny, and so the one, I had to identify and hear the voice and see him all around me, and to gravitate to the higher communication of as we read in Zarathustra, the introduction yesterday, that nature is speaking. And that's maybe why I love nature and used to love go camping.
Yeah.
Learn how to eat wild vegetation, study the plants, the shapes, the forms, because the shapes and the forms are speaking. Just like a walnut. A walnut, it's a big round nut, and the outer shell looks like the cranium of a skull. Then when you break it open, geez, it looks like a brain. It looks just like the two halves of a brain. And it turns out that walnuts are good brain food, and also the tincture of walnut gets rid of parasites in the brain. So it's brain food. And you look at the strawberry red like a heart, looks like a heart, and it looks like it's food for the heart and certainly for the blood circulation as well, the circulatory system. The cauliflower, cut it in half, looks like two halves of a brain.
Yeah.
And it's that way with other fruits of nature. nature or plants. This is how the primitives could identify, and it was Elohim, of course, that was leading them to discover it, putting it in their minds, because great Elohim loves the human race. Therefore, the mother Elohim, those who were dedicated to serving their people and to serving purity, then it would all open up in this great mystery. The mother's love was great, but in the end, we get introduced to the father. But it begins with the mother that brings forth the baby, and it's the mother that nurtures society and civilization until the time that the baby is to be handed over to the father. Okay.
Wow.
So studying those things helped me in my journey. There was a number of things that helped me in the journey. So
is that why I can see the repeating patterns so easily? Because I'm relating to what you're saying. Like, I was always outdoorsy and camping and fascinated with the sky and fascinated with nature and loved just being outside. I could just sit and watch nature. I could just sit there. I was quite happy just to sit there and watch nature. I'm just, wow. Sorry, you're just, wow.
Looks like that way went camping and never came back. I don't know if I'm reading it right.
Camping for life.
Yeah, I've been camping for 5 years, camping for life. So the only problem is now the UVC and the air is not very good anymore. So we're may have to go to find a cave now. I think we did enough damage for today, Ninja. What do you think?
Possibly, yeah.
Nobody's calling in. Once again, the problem is, nobody wants to call and make a comment, a radio check or a statement. So I'm about talked out now. I had some more material, but I'll save it for tonight. I'll be on tonight on Forbidden History Live, and my program. This is your program, but that's mine. Kelly's not talking to me. She's just opening it up for me. So I'm very fortunate that she's put that together. That gives me a little more time to, get it out.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for a couple more friends to consider interviewing me as well. I can't get in it. This amazing thing. Nobody wants to talk to me. Ninja, you noticed that, right? I can't get an interview from any professional radio host out there. I had to turn you into a radio host in order to help me.
That's
and yet,
okay.
There's no host out there that wants to talk about this stuff. I can't figure it out. Can you?
I can. The professionals are part of the deception and the lie, and the small fry channels that want to interview you are part of the truth. Yeah. Because that's just the way it is.
I'm not talking about what they want to hear. They want to hear, Jesus loves you, yes I know, for the Bible tells me so, brother. Isn't that good? Yes, that's good to know. Where there's nothing else we have to do, right? We don't have to change ourselves or anything, do we? No. Just come as you are. Everything's okay. Jesus loves you just the way you are. You psychopath, you. And,
you crack me up.
They don't want to know Jesus means ye pigs out. They don't want to know that. Or the Messianics don't want to know how messy their Messianic tradition is with Yeshua, meaning may his name be blotted out forever, that every time they say Yeshua, they're cursing the one who made all things,
Well, what about the other one? Yahweh? Is that better, or that's better than Yeshua? Yeah.
Well, Yahweh is a corruption as well. There's no W. We have to speak truth.
Yeah. I know that.
It's not a part of any lie.
I always say Yeshua, but but I see
Yahweh is the title of the Father. Yahweh. That's male, female. That's the relationship with sun and earth, moon and earth.
Yeah.
And thank you, Shelley. I hope you know I'm doing it with tongue in cheek over here. Okay. So. All right. So tonight. 8 o'clock. She said it's good for 8 p.m. Eastern time on the Northern Hemisphere and on all messed up US of A. And what they did didn't want you to know that we tell right here the Forbidden History series because somebody's got to do it. And it's because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the forbidden history. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming your way every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and every Sunday evening 8 p.m. Eastern Time on realpublicradio.net, because somebody's got to do it. Yours truly, Dezert-Owl. Thank you, Ninja.
Thank you, Desert.
We'll talk to you tonight. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Peace and light. Okay, and we'll leave it there, and I'll see you guys tonight. Please tune into the Forbidden History Live. Subscribe, please. I'll put, if I haven't already done it, I don't think I have, I'll put a link in the description on this live stream, and I think the link is in the chat as well. Thank you to Ya Love, I think I saw put it up there. Okay, love you guys, that was amazing, and I'm gonna get some sleep now so that I can be awake for the next program. Alright, thank you for joining. Love you guys. See yous.